I'd like to talk for just a little bit about some of the different components of a drainage wall. We were able to see the brackets as the masons put them in place a while ago. And just wanted to mention that there are various lengths in the wire ties that can be used depending on the width of the cavity. Whatever the airspace might be would determine how big a tie you need. This tie has to pass at least 1.5 inches into the brick unit, so you can see if you had a larger airspace, perhaps with some rigid insulation in it or something, that you would need a larger tie. And these come in various lengths. This works well also with steel studs. The bracket screws on in a similar fashion. This is called an eye and pintle. And this just fits down in the little holes in the bracket, and it allows for the brick to grow and shrink daily, but not pull off the wall. So this is also a very nice system. Talking about wall ties though, keep in mind, this particular tie, the corrugated tie, is for wood frame use only. It can only be used with a maximum 1-inch airspace and a minimum 1-inch airspace. So we should never see this tie used in conjunction with steel stud construction. And it should be nailed on with an 8-penny nail in order to work properly. What we see used here is a bracket and wire tie with this particular installation. Since we have about a 1-inch airspace, this particular tie, once it's conjoined to the bracket, passes about halfway through the veneer. And that's what the code wants it to do. But just know that you could have a much larger airspace, up to 4.5 inches empirically, behind this wall. If that were the case, obviously, in order for the tie to pass into the brick far enough to hold it on the wall, you need a much larger tie. One thing we do want to caution against, occasionally masons will try to make a tie that's not designed for the airspace that they're using work. To do that, many times they'll just spread it so that it doesn't come out from the wall so far. Not a good idea. It doesn't hold the brick onto the wall as effectively. It also breaks down the galvanization in places and causes the tie to deteriorate much faster. So really the mason should only open it up just enough to slide it into the bracket and down onto the brick veneer. Again, there are other types of flashing. This particular flashing costs just a bit more, but it's very easy to work with for the mason. But what it is just a paper-thin piece of copper impregnated in asphalt. So you kind of have the best of both worlds. You have a copper flashing that lasts many, many years, nice shelf life, but it's easy and pliable for the mason to work with. What I'd like to emphasize in the installation that you see here today is that each one of the components that we saw go into this wall system are very important to keep water from finding its way into the finished building. The building wrap that you see on the house, the code says that you should have either this or some type of tar paper. Beyond 14-pound felt will do the job as well. But this is a very important step in keeping the water out of the house. I'd like to direct your attention to the top up here if I could. You'll notice as we go up that each layer of building wrap laps about 2 inches or shingles over the one below it, so that as water cascades down the face of the wall, if it finds its way in, it can't get in through the building paper. The thing with brick veneer is there could be multiple kinds of backups, as you see here. Earlier in the day, we've been working with a steel stud backup system. What you see here is CMU, or concrete block backup. So the system changes a bit. What I really like about this is the way it's damp proofed. Obviously the damp proofing takes the place of the building paper that was on the other building. But also the way the brick will be tied as they're laid above this ground face block. They'll be tied to the block with a system that works in conjunction with the block wall. This Durawall, 8-inch Durawall, is laid in the block with these small eyes extending out into the cavity. Then this wire tie fits conveniently into it and out onto the brick. What this allows for is some growth daily. As the brick expands due to thermal expansion and moisture expansion, it can grow. Remember too that blocks shrink. Since they're made with a lot of water, they're going to be going the other way just a bit. This allows for that movement. It doesn't tie the brick too tightly to the block backup and cause cracking problems in the future. Many times, horizontal wire is used to tie one width of a wall to the one in front of it. This is the two most common types that you might see used. This is called ladder type. This is shaped like a truss, so it's called truss type. The problem with this is if you tie dissimilar materials with this, it's too tight a tie. If you had, for example, an 8-inch block backup wall and a 4-inch split face block in front of it, then you could tie block to block with this. But if you have CMU backup with a brick veneer, then again, the block are shrinking, the brick are growing. You'd need something that didn't tie it quite so snugly together. So we suggest, the brick industry suggests, that you use ladder type if you're tying brick veneer to CMU backup. The main thing is to make sure it's nice and dry. We don't have to worry about mold issues or any other type of water penetration problems with a system like you see here. It's a very nice job.